Yeah, all I want from you today is just tell us your story. You reckon you can talk for hours, so I want to put you up for the challenge and see if I don't have to ask any questions at all. You can just talk for the whole thing.
Well, start me off, at least give me something to point me in the right direction.
Yeah. Oh, I might as well get started. All right, quick word from our sponsors. Me. All right, FIFO novel. If you want one, it's hilarious. It's from, where is it from? Aaron Weston author, Instagram account and Facebook page. And then you got the kids' books. You got Australian Mining Machines colouring in book. Australian firefighters. There's more. Australian surf lifesavers. Australian Defence Force machines. Australian paramedics. And there's also Australian police vehicles, but I've sold out because they're popular as. Yep, they're available from Children's Books by Aaron White on Facebook. Just hit the shop now button. Grab yourself a copy. All right, cool. We'll get, have you got your book on hand?
Yeah, just yeah,
And
Skimpy.
today, also sponsored by Kellie Arrowsmith. Skimpy. Yeah, buddy. Where's that available from?
Pretty much Booktopia or anywhere online that you can get books. It's just on all online bookstores pretty much. So.
Yeah. All right, cool. I'll do the little intro. You're like, was that not it?
Yeah, no, that's cool. I didn't realize you did kids' books as well.
I do everything. I get bored really quickly.
Yeah. No, I get you.
All right, cool. All right, here we go. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Aaron White Show. And I'm your host, Aaron. Today, we have a fantastic guest, Kellie Arrowsmith. Kellie is an ex-Skimpy, an author, and has her very own podcast. Kellie's Gone Bush. Welcome to the show, Kel.
Hey, how you going?
Fantastic, thanks. Hey, today I just want to hear your story, like how and where you grew up, any life-changing events, and how you end up doing what you're doing today.
So basically, I grew up in a tiny little town in Gippsland called Rosedale. It's near Sale and Traralgon. And I moved up to Albury when I was about 14. Ended up, just was a little shit down here. And, am I allowed to swear?
Try not to.
Try not to. I was a bit of a brat. So I decided I would leave and go to the Gold Coast and, just try and get some work, and just ended up doing a whole heap of crazy jobs up there. Like one point I worked for a dating agency and they were really dodgy, and they ended up getting done by I think it was the Fair Trading Office and everything. They really just good at ripping people off. And then I ended up when the global financial crisis hit, I lost my job. I was working as an admin assistant for a hardware company, and I ended up, because I'd previously had a roommate that was an exotic dancer, I somehow fell into that world, and her boss was looking for a receptionist. So I ended up booking out showgirls and topless waitresses and skimpies, and we sent the girls to Kalgoorlie and Gove. Gove's in the Northern Territory in East Arnhem Land, and it's a big mining town. And you'd know Kalgoorlie coming from WA, massive mining town, and it's just skimpy. Every bar's a skimpy bar, and so I did that for a couple of years, and that was full on, very hectic because it was the Gold Coast. We had a lot of pubs on the Gold Coast that we dealt with as well, plus private parties and all of that sort of stuff. And then my boss, look, I love her, but Eddie from Absolutely Fabulous, that was her. She was just like, into crystal healing and all of that sort of stuff, but she loved to party. Like, it was nothing to rock up to work on a Saturday and just find like 20 people in the pool still partying from the night before. And then she'd be like, can you just take the phones for one more night? And I'm like, no, I don't. I hate the phones. But so it just became a bit hectic. And then one afternoon I had a cancellation, and one of the girls cancelled a pub, and it was all the way up in Burpengary, which is near the Sunshine Coast, and I knew I wouldn't be able to fill it. And the only girl that could do it, she couldn't drive, so I had to physically get her to the job myself from the Gold Coast. So I drove her all the way up there, and when we got out of the car, the pub owner thought that I was the girl that was rocking up to do the topless raffles or whatever they did up there. And I kind of just had an epiphany, and I'm like, I could do this. He thought I was the girl. Like, maybe I'm not as, maybe I could do this. So I ended up calling my girlfriend I lived with, and she was an absolute nutcase. Like, she'd get banned from mining towns until another pub manager took over, because they'd do things like do the splits on the bar and all of that, and some pubs don't like that. So yeah, she was a bit crazy, and she's like, let's go to Kalgoorlie, and I was like, I can't, because we only send one girl. So we ended up booking into Gove, and that was pretty much my introduction to Skimpy life, was up in East Arnhem Land. And then a few months later I went back, I met my ex-partner and moved up to the Northern Territory, and yeah, kind of had a few experiences up there, and lived in remote Aboriginal community for about 3 months, and yeah, and then flew into another one, and that was just, oh my God, the airports up there are like bus stops. They're just like dirt roads, and yeah, so that was pretty eye-opening, because it's an completely Aboriginal land, and they're very, very different to what I knew from down south. And living in towns and stuff, like when you go out bush, it's just another world. And yeah, so I was supposed to keep going and go on to WA and just sort of work my way around WA, but I got stuck in Darwin because I just loved it so much. And yeah, just kind of lived there for a couple of years and did the whole Skimpy thing. I flew to Kalgoorlie, I did Broome as well. And then I became pregnant with my daughter, and I did I did a massive road trip with my dogs and my daughter in a little Suzuki Swift going down the Stuart Highway, and we went through all the crazy towns. And as I mentioned in my email to you, I slept in a cave at some point in my trip in Cuba Pedy. And that was pretty funny because it was just completely dark. It was an old mine shaft. So yeah.
Why did you sleep in the cave?
Well, it was actually an underground campsite, but it had little hotel rooms, but it was just completely dark. Like, if you wanted to get to the toilet, it was, you had to actually get out of the mine shaft and then find the toilet, which was, I don't know, near the manager's site. It was really funny. And at one point, when I got up the next morning, I thought they'd just set up they had people actually camping there in tents underground, and I didn't understand that because it's like already underground. What do you need the tent for? But I'm guessing privacy. But yeah, I went around and I thought it was like a little, like they just set up an old tent, like to show you what it looked like back in the day, but it wasn't. It was someone's tent, and I'm taking photos of it at 6 a.m. and they're like, and I was, oh God, I'm getting out of here. So yeah, but that was pretty cool. And yeah, I've done the Stuart Highway a few times, and I definitely recommend that to people because it's a lot of nothing, and then boom, there's just a town that says it's the UFO capital of the world, and just stuff like that. So yeah, pretty crazy.
What's some of the crazy stories you got from your Skimpy, like in the bars? Like, are you girls encouraged to do like the after shows, or that's frowned upon, or?
No, the girls, like the agents, so it all, usually you've got different rules in different towns and different pubs. And with WA, it's very, very restricted with the Skimpies, and unless they've got like the proper license, the girls have to cover up to a certain degree. And it's just getting harder and harder for them to make tips because your tips rely on, I don't know if you're familiar with Skimpies and stuff being a FIFO worker.
Never been to one.
Really? I thought this guy's going to know exactly what I'm on about. But no, they're just, I kind of froze there. Oh, got you back. So basically the girls dress up in like an outfit, like a schoolgirl outfit or a cop outfit or something like that. And then in Gove, you would go topless, but you take a jug around the bar and the boys would put tips in for you to go topless for say 20 minutes. And then you put your outfit back on and you keep working. And then you do that about 3 or 4 times a night. And that's where you make your money because you're only on $25 an hour, which is funny because the boys or the guys that drink there, they think you're on like big money, but it's actually them that are paying making it worth it. So being able to you know, undress and all of that sort of stuff is huge in how you make your money as a skimpy or a toppy or whatever you're doing. And so in WA, they're like, no, now you can't wear lace. You have to wear full briefs, no G-strings or anything like that. And you can't wear lace because you can't have any flesh showing through, and they'll literally come and measure you. Like there's police that'll literally come and measure like how far you cut, like if you, it's ridiculous. So the girls over in WA have to work really, really hard for their tips. They have to be the best. Like it's a very high caliber. You can't just, I don't know, people think it's just, you just walk around in hardly anything. No. You have to have an amazing personality. You have to be able to joke with the boys. You have to be able to do a few tricks or something. You have to be able to entertain them somehow, because it's just getting harder with the rules over there. You can't just take your top off and expect that to be it, sort of thing. So, I mean, I was dressing, like they'll pretty much make you wear bikinis, and that's like, guys can go to the beach. So you've got to kind of bring something to the table that, personality wise, or, I mean, as I said, I can talk underwater. So I used to just tell them stories, and I used to work for a plumber back in the day and was on job sites all the time. So I knew how to talk to tradies and, you know, have a laugh with them. And not, another thing too, you can't be too precious. Like, oh my God, don't touch me. And, you know, like they're half drunk and you're walking around half naked. What do you expect? They're going to try. You got to be able to deflect it without pissing them off. Sorry for swearing, but yeah, you just got to have a bit of a good, like you have to have a good attitude. So yeah, but it's crazy. And the girls, yeah, some of them are just really, really, like there's a girl at the moment, I swear to God, she must have brought a agency down there called Raunchy, and she is killing it. Like, I don't know if she's just their mascot or if she owns the company. I'm guessing she owns it because she's just promoting them so much. But they've got like their own car. They've got like their own, it's a huge business for some agents. But you have to really, be right into it. Sort of, you have to love it. Otherwise there's no point. So, yeah.
I think it's like with anything in life. If you're not loving it, you're hating it. Hey, what are the guys like? I know you're saying when they get drunk, they get a bit touchy or whatever. Is there any like sleazy, or do you know any girls, or have you been in any like bad situations where you felt unsafe with these guys at the pub or whatever?
No, not in pubs. I mean, I've had I'm pretty good at giving it back, but I have worked with girls that I've had guys coming up going, what's wrong with her? Why is she being so horrible to us? And, you know, like they clearly aren't. But usually there's always one idiot, but most of the boys will stick up for you if something goes down, because they are paying you to be there and they don't want you to leave. So private parties they're probably where you're going to get your sleaze bags, that they're going to try and touch you and all of that stuff. Like I had a girl, I was doing a party, and because this was when I was on the Gold Coast, because I used to send the girls out and book them all for a couple of years, I knew the girls almost personally, and a couple of them were my friends. And when I started waitressing, I was at a party, and the boys were telling me how when the stripper came, they were going to get a Nerf gun and like shoot at her with a Nerf gun. And I knew which stripper they were getting, and this girl did not pull any punches. She was a self-confessed bitch anyway. Like she's like, like she was very hard on the boys, and with good reason. Like they cop so much, especially on the Gold Coast and Brisbane. So I said to him, I said, I wouldn't do that. She will literally pack up and walk out. Like, I know this girl, she won't put up with it. And luckily for them, she didn't, but she did have a go at him, but they did it anyway. And I'm like, oh my God, but that wasn't the worst thing that's happened. I can't really talk about exactly what happened. But when I was in Darwin, after I left, I still had an agent, I was booking girls up there into pubs for a couple of years, because when I left, they're like, no, because I used to help them out if they needed replacements and all of that stuff. So they ended up getting me to do what my boss did on the Gold Coast, and that was just book girls in for their shifts at the airport hotel in Darwin. And then I ended up getting the Winnelli Hotel as well. And doing both of them. So I used to get a lot of private work out of that. And a girlfriend of mine from the Gold Coast that I'd known forever, she moved up there, and she was a showgirl, and I booked her into a job where she had to be on a bus with these guys pretty much all day. It was a Bucks night. They were doing like a pub crawl in Darwin. Like, you got Darwin, then you got all your rural areas. So they were just kind of going from pub to pub. And by the time they got to the last stop, she was booked to do a Triple X show, which is, I can't really say it in a G-rated. Yeah, so I won't go into it, but Triple X
you can go into it. Oh, no.
Not really.
I don't know. There's a border there.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, in Thailand, well, it's not that hectic, but there's, you know, let's just say they play with toys. So this guy, one of the guys decided that he would join in with a stubby, and it was pretty much classed as rape, yes. Yeah. And because of her job, she felt so awful, and she didn't report it straight away because she was so, you know, they're not going to take me seriously because that's what I was doing for work, and, you know, and the boys, like, so she did, and she ended up taking him to court. And I think the first one was kind of thrown out because of I can't remember why, but then the second time, I was actually up there when it happened, but I wasn't in the courtroom. But she won, and he got sent to jail. And he thought he was going to get away with it because of her job, and because, you know, all the boys there were like, oh, we didn't see it. And I think maybe one of them came forward and said, no, it happened. Yeah. But they tried to go on, oh, he's a family man, he's a good bloke, and all this stuff, and painting her as an absolute, you know, she deserved it, look what she's doing for a job, and she asked for it type thing. And yeah, it was just awful. And she got, like, I think she has a documentary coming out about it, but she can't until some kind of legal thing finishes or something. But yeah, she nearly committed, she was suicidal at one point because of it, and she just felt worthless. And I think, you know, it put a toll on her relationship and all of that. And people don't realize that just because they're doing that for you, for entertainment, doesn't give you the right to treat them like they're objects, or just, you know, like, it's, yeah. So, and they thought because she was a stripper that she wouldn't say anything and they'd get away with it. I'm pretty sure they don't understand how badly that affected her, you know, like, yeah. So, but she won, but now she's fighting for that. I don't know if you've heard about the Let Her Speak movement, but they're trying to, well, they won't let rape victims tell their story because they won't let them be named. So she can't come forward and tell her story to the media. She can't be named in the any media about it and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, there's a very, very dark side to the industry. But the best part about this whole, you know, 2020 and everybody starting to kind of be a little bit more aware of what's right and wrong, you know, I think sex work in general is starting to become a little bit more recognised as, acceptable, I guess. You know, like, every second girl on my Facebook has OnlyFans, and 10 years ago they wouldn't have. Like, it's just becoming a little bit more mainstream, and people are realising that it's not just this sleazy, like, yeah. I mean, I know a girl that was one of the best showgirls on the Gold Coast. She was in Playmate of the Year a couple of times and whatever, and she's a chemist, double degree in chemistry, and owns her own house, like horses, like big land, you know what I mean? Like, she's been a stripper for years and years and years, but she's smart and she's so cool. Like, she rides dirt bikes, and you know what I mean? Like, they're more than just what you see when you're paying for a performance. Like, they're people, and some of them are really, really smart. A lot of them are now nurses or studying, or, yeah, it's just, sorry, I could go on forever about that. It just really grinds my gears when people I mean, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of strippers that are on drugs and with bikies and, you know, so it's just like any job. Like, I'm sure you doing FIFO, you work with a bunch of guys and some of them are just rich bogans. And then you've got the family guys that are doing it and they're, you know, like, I don't know. There's different people in every job, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. There's definitely, as you said, we've got the cashed up bogans, and then you, like me, I'm one of the family guys type thing. Yeah, you got different people in every industry. OnlyFans page. I've only just heard about this on this other podcast a couple of months ago. So you were saying some of the girls got these OnlyFans pages? Is that what you said?
Oh, everyone's got an OnlyFans page. I'm not allowed to have one. I don't want one anyway. But my boyfriend, he's like, if you ever go back to doing skimpy work, I wouldn't be happy. I'm like, dude, I'm 37. It's not going to happen. I've got a kid now. It's just, yeah. But no, OnlyFans. So I think it's become huge because of the lockdown as well. And it's a good way for girls to get paid. They do photo shoots or they might make a video or whatever, and they can choose how much or how little they want to show, and people can choose whether or not they want to pay for it. It's a little bit like how, you know, how podcasts have Patreon and all of that sort of stuff. Yeah. That's kind of like, it's like Patreon for strippers or sex workers. So they create content and people have to pay to unlock the content and have a subscription and stuff like that. So yeah, and it's become, like I said, 10 years ago, or maybe even more than that, I remember when I was working in the office on the Gold Coast, this woman, I should say, that was a really good friend of my boss. She was a bit wild, and she was trying to start a webcam, like, business, I guess, and get girls to webcam, and then she would like manage the site, or I don't exactly know what she was doing, but she was trying to get me to recruit the girls. And I knew back then, like, they would not do it because the whole point of doing shows, no photos and all of that sort of stuff, so it was just like something they'd do on the side for money, or it just wasn't. Back a long time ago, I sound so old, but yeah, back when I started out in the industry, people didn't advertise that they were strippers or topless waitresses unless they were like the full whole hog in Playboy and all that sort of stuff. But the girls that just did it, you know, for the cash, they didn't really have it all over their Facebook profile, and there was no way in hell they would do webcam. And now, fast forward 10 years, I've just seen it change so much. And now it's like in your profile, what do you do for work? I'm a stripper, which is great. Be proud of that, because it is hard work and you have to be talented at what you do, because I couldn't do it. I can't dance. But, you know, and you have to work hard. You have to make sure you look good and you have to maintain yourself. And so cool, be proud of it. And if you want to do OnlyFans, you know, I talk crap into a microphone and I don't make any money off that. So maybe one day I will, I don't know. But yeah, it's changed. Like, it never would have gone down like it does. It wouldn't have been like it is now 10 years ago. But nowadays, because, as I said, tying in with what I said before, it's become so much more accepted in the mainstream to do sex work or stripping or whatever you want to do. So yeah, as I said, every second girl on my Instagram or Facebook, I guess, and that's actually not fair because I'm friends with a lot of strippers and skimpies. So, yeah. But yeah, it's massive.
Hey, I might touch on the Aboriginal community that you went to. What was the living conditions like in there? Because obviously lots of people down here in Perth and stuff like that would have no idea about that type of stuff.
It was very I mean, they live in houses and stuff like that. Obviously, they're, you know, they've got their you've got a community of houses. It's not like they're just sort of living in the bush without anything. But and I guess it's just so different because it's so remote, and they don't speak. A lot of the Aboriginal people I met up there don't speak English as well. They don't, it's not their first language. So, and they all have different languages. So where I was, it was like Yulnul, and I knew a few words. So I knew, because I worked in the pub when I first went up there, I kind of had to figure out what they were asking me for and all of that sort of stuff. And then I did meet, there are a couple there that I will never forget. One of them was a school teacher called Stephen, and he was just the funniest bloke. He would just sit down there and he would just ask me riddles, and none of them made sense. Like, I had to get another bloke to tell me what that was, but yeah, the answers just didn't make sense. But he was funny as, and he was a school teacher, and I ended up being mates with him after I moved back. So I worked there, met my ex, and then moved up there for good. And yeah, so he was a good bloke, and yeah, but a lot of the other ones I couldn't understand. So a lot of them don't speak English. So you've got to figure, you're almost like you're in another country. The shops, everything's very, very expensive the further out you get. So I remember seeing a tin of Milo for $20 and stuff like that. The kids are just, they're just so, like, they've got little schools out there, they've got football ovals, and these kids are the best athletes. I tell you what, like, I just remember seeing them when I was out in one of the communities. They had a sports day, and they were all like, they javelin, one of their best, because I guess with spears and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and they got no fear. Like, they seriously, I got chased by wild dogs because, that's another thing. They've got camp dogs, and they're pretty scary. They're almost wild. And yeah, but these kids, they were laughing at me because I got chased by the dog, and they were like, we're seeing you get chased. And I'm like, shut up, 4-year-old. But yeah, we went out. So there's crocodiles everywhere. And we went out to a traditional like an old station, and the traditional owner took us out and took us in this tinny and like took us right into a croc nest in the world's smallest tinny. And I'm like, oh my God, there's going to be like a monster just jump up and get me. But yeah, it was, and this kid is just like climbing up the trees in this croc infested water, and he had no fear. Like, they just, yeah, they're full bush up there. And the traditional owner, like, he was making spears, showing us how to make spears and stuff. So it was just really cool to see, you know, they still hunt like they used to, and they still have kept their culture. And, you know, we've obviously, I don't really want to go down the whole, you know, racism and all of that sort of stuff, but it did kind of annoy me to see our culture, our religion is not anything like their religion. So they've got, and I don't really understand a lot of it, so I'm not going to speak on too much of it, but I mean, they've got, you know, the medicine man and like there's curses, and like, I remember when sorry, I keep jumping around, but I had to take a truck to a barge landing for helping, because my partner worked for the council. So I took it, and it was nighttime, and these Aboriginals saw me go there, and they turned their car around and followed me, and they wouldn't let me stay there alone. And I'm like, why? And one of the women's like, oh, ghosts will get you. And I was like, what? They're very, very spiritual, and they believe in ghosts and curses and all of that sort of stuff. And they've got their own belief system. And then it happened to be Easter weekend there, and they're parading around like a pretend Jesus on a cross, and they're really right into Christianity, but it doesn't tie in with their culture. And it just, I'm like, why did the white man decide to just go up there and go, oh, by the way, there's this guy called Jesus? And it's like, no, just let them have their own religion. So I guess, yeah, you see, yeah, I think that it's really good to see them, and it's very interesting to learn about their culture. And I think that the less, you know, we don't try and inflict our culture on them now, but back in those days, I can see why they're pissed off, because they, you know, yeah, I can just see why they're pissed off, put it that way. It's like, well, we kind of didn't have it the right. but we thought we did. And yeah, but it's so cool up there. Like, it really is. And it's something I think everybody should go and see before they start having opinions and all of that, because yeah, it's not what you see on TV.
So was that a dry camp? Like no alcohol and stuff like that?
Ramingining was, and Gove wasn't. And you can definitely see the difference. That's another thing, that alcohol, yeah, not good for them at all. I used to see women come to the pub with broken arms and stuff, and you know, there's a lot of violence. And although the woman that had the broken arm, I found out that she was sneaking down to a beach, because sometimes they camp on the beach. Yep. And she was sneaking down to try and get this other woman's husband. And that woman broke her arm. And I guess that's just how they sort things out. But yeah, it's just, but you didn't see a lot of that in Ramingining, because Ramingining's no alcohol. And it's not as, you could definitely see the difference. It's not good for them. It's not good for anybody to drink a lot like they do sometimes. So yeah. And Darwin's, oh my God, Darwin was like, we actually had a alcohol register. So if you had to get your license scanned to buy any alcohol, and yeah, if you're on the banned drinkers, you couldn't buy alcohol and stuff like that. So they're very, very strict on it in Darwin, because of it's a huge problem. And yeah,
I guess they'd probably get like other friends to buy them alcohol and stuff like that. Did you see much of that? Or was it pretty?
Like, of course they're going to. You get, yeah, they do their best to try and stop it, but it's, yeah. But the thing is, it's the owners of the land don't want the alcohol in there, because they see, like, for instance, Ramingining, they're the ones that say we don't want it. It's not like white man's just come along and gone, you can't have it now. Yeah, they've seen what it's done to some of their communities, and they don't want it. They're trying to sort of clean it up a little bit. But what they'll do is they'll come from bush, they'll come to Darwin, and they'll like drink for a couple of weeks or whatever, and then they'll go back out bush to the dry community and not drink for however long. Yeah, and then you got what's called long grasses, which I'd never ever heard of it. And then I'm reading the NT News, and they're like, blah, blah, blah. And he was long grassing. And I'm like, what is long grassing? So they sleep in the grass when they're drunk. Just camping out. And yeah, so.
Yep. We saw heaps of that up in Newman. I worked up there for a bit. And
yep.
Oh, yeah. Basically, you go to that pub and you'd see the locals come in. And as you said, you can't one of them was like, emu. Like, what the hell is this guy trying to order? But obviously he's trying to order emu export or something. But I think he like come too late. So they already closed bar, so the barman had to like tell them to go. And like, went down to the bottle shop there with a couple of my mates, and there's this larger Aboriginal lady there, just like offering us like she offering herself to us type thing. And I was like, no thanks. And there's Aboriginal guy there who actually pissed himself, like standing around with her, like stumbling around. We're like, oh my God, where the hell are we? But yeah, you'd walk back from the pub back to our camp, and they'd be like asleep underneath the grass trees and stuff like that. You just passed out. You're like, God, definitely a different world to what I'm used to, that's for sure.
Is that near Broome?
Newman is near Broome. It's in the middle of nowhere anyway.
I've heard of it.
I haven't got a map on me, so I don't know.
No, that's all right. Yeah, because I noticed that they're very much similar to Darwin up in Broome as well, like the way but I do, yeah, it's cool to, like, it's interesting anyway.
Tell us about, we're about to wrap up soon. Tell us, why did you write that book? And was it hard to get published?
I had a blog called Kel's Gone Bush, and I used to just take the piss out of the Northern Territory News and myself. And my friends kind of said, oh, you should write a book. And I had my daughter, and then I you know, babies, they're boring. So, you know what I mean? They just sleep and eat. So I sort of started turning some of my blog posts into chapters, and then, just I got an agent once I got to like 40,000 words, and I was like, yep, I'm done. That's it. That's a whole book. And she's like, no, you're going to have to write more. And then she shopped it around, and I got Hatchet. They offered me a book deal on Christmas Eve 2014, and they published the NT News, What a Crock, which is like just a compilation of their craziest headlines. And the lady that saw my book and wanted it, she was really obsessed with Darwin, and she loved that they'd just done the NT News. And then Skimpy, there was a documentary called Skimpy. Definitely check that out. It's based in WA, and it's got a couple of girls I used to work with on the Gold Coast. That had just aired, and she was like, oh, we need to do, like, be good to get a book like that. Next thing you know, my book was never called Skimpy, it was called Gone Bush. They called it Skimpy, and then she was like, yep, got the offer, took it, and yeah, it was published. And it was probably a dream of mine because I've been a massive reader my whole life. And yeah, but it's not that easy. I was just lucky. Everything kind of just happened all at the right time. Like, she'd watched this show, they'd just published that book, and then my book come along, and yeah, so that kind of happened. And then yeah, I've just done a fictional one, but I'm kind of sitting on that because of the whole COVID thing. I don't really want to push for it yet because I'm not quite sure about what publishers are doing at the moment.
I guess you can just ask the question, though. You don't want to ask the question, how's COVID affecting you trying to publish your book? Wouldn't more people sitting around doing nothing want a book to read?
Yeah, I know. I'm just not. So my publisher, excuse me, I wrote the book, and I was talking to my publisher about it because it took me a couple of years because, as I mentioned in my email with you, I had a few setbacks with my personal life. But so a couple of years to get this book done. And because it's fictional, fiction is so hard to write, I've found. And, you know, to write well and interesting, and because I get really bored really easy if they waffle on too much. But so I was always in touch with her about that. And then she has actually got it. And she said she would go through and mark it up or whatever, and then try and, because she only does nonfiction. So she said if Hatchet don't publish it, she would try and help me get connected with somebody that would publish that type of book. It's a little bit Robert Barrett style, you know, like it's set in Darwin, and it's just rough people, and yeah, it's supposed to be funny, hopefully. So I've just kind of left it with her, and I just don't want to push it too much because she's got, obviously, I just know how much, like, she'll be doing however many books at a time, and they're in deals. This one hasn't actually been contracted yet. So yeah. I'm just going to kind of probably give it a few months before I try and push for that one, really, because I've noticed no agents are taking on new people because of COVID, because I've had a look around. My agent stopped being an agent because she had a baby. So I've been left with no agent. Yeah. And yeah, trying to get another one. It's just, I don't even want to approach these people because they've literally written on their website, we're not taking any more people on at the moment because of COVID. So that's kind of got me going, well, I don't want to pressure my publisher. If agents aren't taking on new people, they might be really sitting on the books coming out and stuff like that. Maybe because so many people are out of work and can't afford to buy things. I don't know where it's all at the moment with the.
I guess maybe because you can't go do like book signings and stuff like that, you can't get out there as much and like push it yourself. I'm going to wrap up. Anything else you'd like to share with the audience, or one last crazy story that you can think of or anything?
Oh God. No, I'll let you guys go there, because otherwise I'll probably end up taking up another 20 minutes of your time. Yeah, but just if you want to follow my journey of telling crazy stories, I do have a podcast, and I upload everything to my Facebook page, Kel's Gone Bush, and I've got a podcast group that you can join, which is also called Kel's Gone Bush. Don't listen to the first 3 I've released because the audio is crap. I'm going to take them down and re-record them. But yeah, oh my God, that is probably, yeah, one of my biggest things is just I'm learning at the moment to, try and get the story, get the story out without a script and stuff like that. Because I've noticed when you write scripts and stuff, it just sounds a bit
fake.
forced. So yeah. I'm learning, so don't judge me too hard if you do check it out.
So tell us more about your podcast. Is it like an interview show thing like this, or is it you telling stories or telling other people's stories, or what's your podcast about?
It's definitely not an interview one. I have considered it, but it's just too hard to try and... It's really hard to get a bit of quiet time in this house. I've got a crazy galah. I've got a partner that works different hours, and my daughter, so I have to kind of fit it around my schedule. So I don't really have time to fit other people in every single week. It would just be too much pressure. So I usually just do what I did with my blog, and I'll tell you the craziest story I can find, and I'll try and do as much research as I can on that story, and then, or I'll tell you something that, it's basically Aussie stories, and it's the crazier the better. I do a little bit of true crime, and it's all Australian, nothing out of Australia. That's basically it.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, I went to download because I download all of mine off YouTube, but you haven't got any on YouTube, so I have to listen to it. So where can people listen to it?
Started them on YouTube, actually.
Have you?
There's a few on there, but they're not, I haven't done a YouTube video yet. I'm going to get into that at some point. But I've got to figure out all this. See, this is my first Zoom, so I'm like...
Because, what I did, because I got like 23 episodes where I didn't do it on like this. I just did it audio only, and I've just learned how to put that up on YouTube audio with just like my logo. So you can do that.
That's what I've done.
That's what you did do?
But I've put pictures, different pictures, not just my logo, because so the picture suits the episode. Like, for instance, Tony Higgins that just got lost again at sea. He was rescued on South Australia, and then he got lost again, and unfortunately this time I don't think he got rescued. So I did a tribute to him because he was in I'd just done a podcast about, oh yay, they got rescued, and it's so cool. And then he went, and then I looked on the news, and I'm like, oh shit, he's missing again. So I had to do another podcast, and so if you look on there, you'll find a photo of Tony. But oh god, that was
Oh, awesome.
So it is on YouTube, just not all of them, because I've left my earlier episodes because I would actually like to redo them now. I've got a better quality audio setup. So
No, awesome. All right, might wrap it up. So give yourself a plug where everybody can find you on social media. I know you already said it, but you might as well do it again.
Kel's Gone Bush on everything.
Yep.
If you do follow me on Twitter, I'm not the best at Twitter. So probably Instagram, Facebook, or my Facebook group is the best way to find me. And now you can find me on YouTube. It's just there's not as many videos on there, but I'm getting there. So
Sweet ass. Oh, just want to say a massive thank you for coming on the show. Did you have fun?
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is the first interview I've done on a podcast on somebody else's. So it's been cool. The whole Zoom thing. So
Sweet. All right, cool. Wrap up. Well, that's a wrap. I'd like to thank Kellie again for coming on the show, and I'd like to thank you, the listener, for listening. Please tell a friend about the podcast, and have a fantastic day. All right, bye. All right.